If you are a recovering people pleaser, I need your help. I need your help today because I am dealing with a situation as a person who has been working on not being a people pleaser that I'm just stumped on. I'm starting to get a little clarity, but I said, you know what? Let me go to the people and let me see what advice you could give me. This is what I'm talking about. So I have probably been a people pleaser for as long as I can remember, but I only became aware of what it meant to be a people pleaser and why that can not be a good thing in certain circumstances in the last 5 years. A new situation that I'm finding myself in the last 18 months or so is working back in corporate America, which I think that has its own layer of people pleasing just built into it. I have been out of corporate America for 15 years, and I was a substitute teacher. So I did not have the same dynamic. I could work at the school whenever I wanted. I could work at different schools every week. So there wasn't this one constant person that I was trying to keep happy. I'm back in corporate America, but I'm back working for a boss that is very demanding, he can be condescending. He's extremely moody. One day he loves me and I've done awesome work. And the next day he's talking to me like I'm an absolute idiot and I have no idea what I'm doing. And I've been really struggling with this dynamic and this relationship because in my personal life, I'm working really hard to not seek external validation, to not feel like I'm always trying to please somebody. But in my professional life, I need this person to be happy with me. I need this person to approve of, I will say approve of me, but I'm going to reframe that because I think that's the wrong thinking. Approve of my work. But I'm working this out in real time, trying to make this shift. If you have been in this position, please watch this video and chime in because is making me feel like I'm betraying myself and I'm going against something that is at my core wrong. To constantly be trying to make him happy, to constantly have to make myself available whenever he wants to talk to me. So if it's a day that I'm scheduled to work from home, I feel anxious because I got to be near that computer in case it dings and he wants to have a Zoom call. I feel like I can't be in the kitchen getting my lunch. I couldn't have gone to the restroom. I got to be there to answer that message right away and say, yep, I'm absolutely ready right now. The second you want me to be, I'm ready to get online and be camera ready and have a meeting. And I just feel like, oh, this feels so wrong that I have to drop everything that I'm doing whenever he wants me to. And that I'm always having to make sure he's happy with me and think about whether he's happy with me and think about what I can do so he'll feel that I'm worthy to be on the team and worthy to be here. And I do, on an intellectual level, understand that is just his personality because I actually have two bosses. The one that I'm describing is the one that I work with most of the time on a more regular basis. I do have another boss who, same corporate environment setting where your boss has to be happy with you, but this boss number two, his personality is a lot different. He is the type where he's like, there's no question that's a dumb question. Let me know however I can help you. And I never feel the same level of I got to perform with boss number two. With boss number one, that's how I'm feeling. And it's bothering me because I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm trying to get away from. But what do you do when you can't get away from this person? When you need them to be happy with you? So I don't know about you guys, but when I am stuck like this, and I think part of the reasons I'm stuck is because it's not just an intellectual problem. My feelings, my emotions, my values are wrapped up in it. So when I'm feeling stuck like that and I can't see the forest for the trees, I ask ChatGPT. So I don't know if y'all use chat to help you think through things, but I do. So I want to share with you at least what chat is s- helping me to process. I took some notes on the conversation that I had with ChatGPT, but I want to also know what are some things that you might be doing, maybe some advice that you might have for me to help me in this dynamic because it is a good company to work for. And like I said, one of my bosses is great. But this other guy, he comes from that hustle culture and you go over and above to prove yourself over and over again. So you're more valuable to him if you're the kind of employee that works weekends and works nights and drops whatever you're doing. You're more valuable to him in his eyes if you never say no. And this is the kind of person that in my personal life, in my past, got me all kinds of lost and didn't know who I was and if I was coming or going. So now I'm dealing with the same type of person, but it's not so easy because I can't just say, you know what, you're not healthy for me and I'm bouncing. I don't have that privilege right now. So let me just go through some of the notes that I took, and I'm processing this in real time. If you are a person that has seen any of my videos, and there may be a chance that there's some other recovering people pleasers out there that can help me. But here's the first thing that I wrote down. You don't have to become a people pleaser at work because sometimes you have to accommodate a difficult person. So this is the first thing that I'm trying to get into my mind is that I am accommodating him. I am tolerating him. And just because I am tolerating and accommodating him does not equate to people pleaser. Even though that's how it feels. It feels like I'm falling back into those old tendencies and those old people pleasing ways. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's true. Feelings are notoriously unreliable, I remind myself. So that is the first thing that I'm trying to get into my mind. I'm trying to internalize that just because I have to deal with him and I have to accommodate him, that does not mean that I am people pleasing. Because people pleasing means that I'm getting my internal sense of safety and worth and well being from keeping him happy and making him happy. On the opposite end, excuse me, accommodating him, professional accommodation just means I wrote down here that I'm making a conscious decision that although I don't like this dynamic and his personality and the relationship that we have with him being above me and being having the authority to tell me what to do and how to do and expecting that I drop everything for him. Even though I don't like that dynamic, I'm making a conscious decision to choose to respond in a particular way to protect my employment, my reputation as a good worker, and achieve my longer term goals, if that makes sense. But people pleasing means I get my internal sense of safety and self worth from keeping him happy. But a professional accommodation means that I'm making a conscious decision to respond to him in a particular way so that I protect my employment, my reputation as a good employee, my sanity, and my long term goals. So while I may not be able to control what he requires of me, I can control not letting those requirements define who I am. That is what I have to keep reminding myself. I can't control his demands and what he requires of me, but I can control not letting those requirements define who I am. So while I may have to give him updates at the drop of a dime or work under some ridiculous time constraint, I may have to ask his approval for things and seek his permission for things. I may have to reorder my priorities and my day because he dropped something in my lap at the last minute. And because he's who he is, the VP of IT, that means I've got to drop what I'm doing. While I may have to do those things, I gotta remind myself that's just employment. That's employment, and sometimes the person that has authority over me will establish processes that I don't agree with. This is what I'm trying to walk out and think through in real time. So ultimately, I'm making a decision to give my cooperation, but I'm not required to give him my self esteem. So I'm deciding that I'm going to respond in a particular way. I'm going to give my cooperation, give the updates, rearrange my priorities and my list of projects, rearrange my time when he wants me to do something right now. But that does not mean that I have to give him my self esteem. He's not changing my self worth, my internal self worth, because I have to accommodate him. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to get into my brain to help me deal with this man. I hope I hope that makes sense. I think that makes sense. Let me see. I also have down here that the things I don't have to do, so those are the things I do have to do. Those are the accommodations I have to make. I might have to reorder my projects and my time and things like that. But what I don't have to do is agree that I'm incompetent. Just because he's trying to make me feel that way, I don't have to internalize that. And I don't have to agree that I'm incompetent. I don't have to, and this is one I'm going to work on, I don't have to spend time thinking of ways to make him approve of me more. And I have done that because I've only been in this job for 15 months, so I'm still learning his personality. And I have in the past spent time like, geez, what is it going to take to make this guy realize that I deserve a spot on this team? Even if I have had past successes, past projects that I've run and delivered on time and that he's been wowed by, the next day, if he makes me feel like I'm a complete failure and he's in a bad mood and he's come to me with this condescending attitude, I don't have to spend time thinking about how to make him approve of me. I also don't have to accept his mood as an indication of whether or not I'm doing my job well. These are three things that I wrote down that I don't have to do. I don't have to agree that I'm incompetent. I don't have to spend time thinking of ways to make him approve of me. And I don't have to accept his mood as an indication of whether or not I'm doing my job well. I have here whatever he thinks I'm great at today or awful at tomorrow, neither one gets to define my identity. If he thinks I'm great today, tell me something I didn't know. If he thinks I'm awful tomorrow, you're just wrong. So what I'm doing with all of this is trying to make sure that I differentiate my reality from feelings. I'm trying to get my feelings out of it or internalizing his feelings, which as people pleasers, that's what we do. However, people are feeling around us, we will internalize it and then we go into fix it mode trying to make sure they're okay. So the goal is consistency in my work, but not winning his approval. And so I think at the beginning of the video, I tried to, in real time, change my wording because I would say, I trying to make sure this man is happy with me. No, I don't have to make sure that he is happy with me. I have to make sure he's happy with my work. And that's how I have to start to think about it. He's got to be happy with my work. I don't care, shouldn't care, have to learn not to care that he's happy with me. I have to stop trying to pass the test, which, if you're like an overachiever type A, like we're used to passing the test. So again, something that just goes against my nature. I have to stop trying to pass the test. With this type of personality, I have to stop believing there is a magical level of performance where he'll finally approve of me. I'll prove myself and that he'll relax. And I think that's what I've been doing this whole time, and that's what's been so frustrating, that I've been chasing this magical level of approval where he'll finally agree that, you know what, she's solid. So glad we hired her. She's great for the team. that is a moving target with people like this, with this man in particular. And I haven't gotten there in 15 months. And I noticed that none of the employees who've been there much longer than I have on our team have gotten there either. I've seen him treat all of us the same way. So I know it's not personal. And I know that in my head, but in the moment, it feels personal. In the moment where he's grilling me, do you even know the process? I'm like, dude, I've been doing the process all along. What do you mean I didn't know the process? Because I'll give you one example. I am responsible for making sure that all of the invoices for all of the equipment that IT purchases for our entire organization, all the laptops, all the monitors, all the everything, all of those invoices, I am responsible for seeing that they get to accounts payable. I missed an invoice, one invoice. So I get a call from him, a Zoom call one day. He wants, are you available? Which means you need to be on camera in the next 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay, sure. And so he's like, what happened with this invoice? And I'm looking at it. I don't recognize it. And I said, I'm not sure. And then he was like, well, are you still checking the inbox for all of the invoices? I said, yes, I check multiple times a day, every day. And he said, and then what do you do with it? And so I explained, these are the steps I take. And then what's supposed to happen after that? So now he's grilling me. Now, mind you, I've been in the role for over a year. This is the first time an invoice has gotten missed. And so I said, I'm really sorry. I'm not sure what happened with this one, but I will look into it. So now I'm mad because I'm like, how dare you grill me like I don't know the process, and this is the first one I've missed. Come on. So anyway, I look into it and I found out that the day that I missed this particular invoice, I happened to had to go to the ER that day. So I emailed him back and I said, this was the day that I had to go to the emergency room, and that's why it got missed. My apologies. I'll get it to accounts payable right away. Do you know he said nothing? He said nothing. He never answered anything back like, that's totally understandable. It happens. Nothing. So this is the type of person that I'm dealing with. So there's always this moving target for his approval, and I've been chasing that target. So I have to remember that when I'm dealing with this type of personality, I have to stop believing that there is a level of performance that I can hit, that he will officially and finally approve of me. Because I'm going to drive myself crazy trying to reach that finish line that is forever moving. I have to start to think, instead of thinking, what do I need to do so he finally trusts me and finally thinks I can do the job, to what does competent performance look like here, whether he validates it or not. This is a question that I wrote to myself. I need to stop thinking, what do I need to do so he finally approves of me? And start thinking, what does competent performance look like in my role, whether or not he validates it? And that is a question that I can answer for myself. I can look at my job description. I know what it is that I'm expected to do. And if I do those things, whether or not he gives me his okay or not, I know that I've done a competent job. A practice that I'm going to start is I'm going to start being more attentional about keeping my own records. I think that this will help me. So I'm going to track successful projects. I'm going to keep track of positive feedback, document decisions that I made when I took charge of a project. I'll save emails where expectations are outlined and established. I'll keep notes on my accomplishments. I think that is going to help me remember reality when his behavior is making me question myself and second guess myself and say to myself, maybe I'm not doing as well as I thought I was doing. If I have a record to look back on of all of the things that I did, I think that will help bring reality back into the picture. And it'll get me out of my feelings and not focused on his feelings. So that is a practice that I'm going to try to start to do. I've started this a little bit, but I'm gonna try to do this more, and that is become predictable. Meaning I'm gonna give him updates before he asks for them. Some people call this managing upward. So if I know, if I can tell that this is something that he's probably gonna say, where is this? Why isn't this done? When will this be done? And I have to deal with his attitude and with the tone in the question before I even have to hear all of that. I will try to give him updates ahead of time. I'll try to feed it to him before he can give it to me with all the negativity couched around it. Because see, that's when I get an attitude and that's when I get upset. But I'm like, why do you have to come to me with an attitude? Why can't you just say, where are you with project X, Y, and Z? Why do we have to have the attitude? And then on some days, he's just as pleasant as pie. Like I'm telling you, this man is so moody. You never know who you're going to get. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It depends on what's going on in his personal life, truly. And so if I start to manage upward, maybe that will also help, along with keeping my records of my accomplishments to kind of ground me back into reality. And while all of this may seem like I shouldn't have to do all this, I shouldn't. I shouldn't. But I think it is me also being wise and strategic in how to deal with this type of person. So those things are both true. I should not have to go through all this. I should not have to keep all these extra records, and I shouldn't have to try to get to him before he gets to me, get the information to him before he gets to me. I shouldn't have to do all this. But it's probably the wisest, most strategic thing I can do to try to manage how much I have to take in of his attitude so that I'm less reactive, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, I think what I have to do is, even though I have this personal boundary that I am not going to seek external validation and I'm not going to be overly accessible to people. I'm not going to be emotionally accessible to people who aren't safe. I don't like being around controlling people and having them in my world. That's my personal boundary, but I'm also going to need to have a professional boundary. And I never differentiated the two. So I wonder how many of you have differentiated, like, these are the boundaries that I have at home, and these are the boundaries that I have at work. Because 'cause I've never done that. Have always just gone with, these are just my personal boundaries, the boundaries for Shonda. This is just my personal boundary. I never differentiated the 2, but I think that what it could look like is, personally, I may say, "Yeah, I don't deal with controlling people. I just don't keep them in my world. If I don't have to, I don't keep them in my world." But professionally, I may have to work with them, but they don't have to have access to me emotionally, meaning, like, he doesn't have to always know what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling. He does not have to know that, "Man, you irk me to my soul." You really do sometimes. He doesn't have to know that. So I don't have to engage with all his condescending remarks. I don't have to try to always defend myself. I'm gonna pick my battles. Because I do know, like I said, a lot of this is not personal. Usually this is the way it is with him. If he is in a bad mood and he's frustrated by something, and it could be coming from his boss, whoever is in his line of sight, that's who's getting it. That's typically how it goes, which is so unfair. And it's, you know what? You're just not a nice person. But that's who I'm dealing with. So I'm going to not engage with his condescending remarks. I'm going to pick my battles. I'm going to try to be neutral. Neutral statements in my response. Got it. Understood. I'll take a look at it. Just like things that don't have my emotions in it. And I think that having that professional boundary, which says, I got to deal with you, but I am not going to emotionally give you access. And I'm not going to internalize your emotions. Whereas in my professional life, I probably wouldn't even deal with you, period. So I'm gonna have to separate them. So let me know if you guys have tried that, if anybody's doing that and how that's working for you. because my boundary basically is deciding what I will not engage with emotionally. I think that's what I have to do. I have to take my emotions out of it. I have also here that giving myself a work persona, not a fake, not being fake, but just like professional Shonda is different from personal Shonda, meaning like professional Shonda is calm and I am cooperative and I'm courteous and I'm hardworking, but I'm also hard to destabilize. Y- I'm hard for you to get under my skin. That's professional Shonda. And I think that professional Shonda, he doesn't need to like me. He doesn't need to understand me. I'm just there to do my job. I just gather my information. I give my updates. I clarify expectations. I do my work. I go home. So really making a hard line between personal Shonda, who is more of an open book, who is more sharing, to professional Shonda is I am here to do my job, leave. I am here to be competent, courteous, cooperative, but you can't destabilize me because I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you approve of me. I don't know how hard this is going to be, but I think this is where I need to go. I need to make the psychological shift that will help me to not feel like I am accommodating behavior that violates something that I have tried so hard to work on. That's what it feels like. I feel like I'm violating something I've tried so hard to work on every time I have to give in to one of his demands. And obviously, it's not sustainable for me to feel that way. So I have got to make this psychological shift that I am not betraying myself when I have to accommodate and him. And I have come up with ways to respond to him. And I made decisions on how I'm going to respond and how professional Shonda is going to conduct herself at work so that he cannot destabilize me and get me upset and get under my skin. This is, in my opinion, a more advanced way of boundary setting, practicing boundaries with somebody that you can't just boot out of your life when you feel like it. So I have to learn how to keep his personality from occupying so much space within me. So that's another note that I wrote down. Because, yeah, when he does stuff like that, where he'll like totally make you feel this big, you're in your feelings. I'm on my drive home, like going over the conversation, going over whether he was justified in what he said. Did I miss something? I'm questioning myself. I got to get away from that. I have to learn how to keep his personality from occupying so much of my mental space. That I think will really help me. And I'm going to try to move in a way where how I respond isn't coming from a place of I hope he's not mad at me. I hope he's not mad at me. I hope he's not disappointed in me. I got to get away from moving from that sort of thinking and my response coming from that headspace to this is annoying, but I've decided that cooperation is going to serve my larger objective. That's where I think my thinking has to shift. I wrote down here, I'm trying to give myself permission to have a long term boundary, even if I cannot enforce a short term one. I'm giving myself permission to have a long term boundary, even though I can't enforce the short term one. And what I mean by that is I can decide that I have to work successfully under his management style for now, but I'm not going to be here forever. This is not the professional environment that I always want to be in. I, in fact, don't enjoy corporate America. I'm seeing that being back for 15 months now. I really don't. And I have a goal to move out, and I've owned my own business in the past, and I want to get back to that. I want to get back to having my business tied to something that I believe passionately in. And also, I want to have my business tied to what I believe is my calling as I'm trying to be more intentional in my 50s of really going after my purpose. And I want to have my business tied to purpose. And that is my long term goal. But right now, I have to successfully work under this management style, cooperate with this difficult personality, but in a way that I am not allowing it to have access to my emotions and get me all worked up. So I'm not quietly quitting because I still am going to go and do a great job. And I'm going to record my successes and my wins. I'm going to be sure of what it is, what competency looks like in my role. So I'm not quietly quitting, but what I am doing is quietly increasing my options, which is one of the reasons that I'm here today, because my goal is to work with you guys long term, to encourage women all over the world to chase their passions and their purpose. And what does that look like, especially in the second half of life, especially when you are a recovering people pleaser, especially when you've been through a lot, but God is not through with you yet. So I'm quietly increasing my options. So if you have made it this far in the video, I would like to ask you to give the video a like and subscribe so that we can continue these conversations. And I hope that you'll chime in the comments any advice that you have for me to navigate this situation if it's something that I haven't thought of. So I've told you what I have been able to come up with, but if it's something that you have tried and you have been has given you success, please share it, because I think at the end of the day, this is where I'm landing. My boundary, my professional boundary is that I can tolerate this season without deciding that this is what I deserve forever. Because I don't deserve him. Nobody deserves him, for especially not forever. And the thought that he controls my career and my finances and my time, that just does not sit well with me. I can do it for a season, but it's not my forever. That's it for today, guys. What about you? Let me know in the comments. How do you deal with these people that you can't get rid of, but you wish you could? Until then, I want you to meet me in the comments and study yourself, study the Word of God so that you can see you the way that God sees you. Bye, y'all.